Ja Morant is taking his game to the next level. Over the past 10 or so games, both Ja and the Memphis Grizzlies have really been playing fantastic. The Grizzlies in the past 10 games are 9-1, and Ja Morant has had multiple games over 30 points in the past 10 games. Ja and the Grizzlies are playing fantastic basketball right now. But quickly before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm Juicy Sports. I make opinionative NBA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, please consider hitting that subscribe button, that post notification bell, and that like button. But anyways, let's get into it.
Oh yeah, I work with the medics. I'm about to get you injected. I got a couple connections so I can get you prosthetic.
After being drafted by the Memphis Grizzlies a few seasons back, Ja came out of the gates running and played extremely well and looked like an NBA superstar right out of the gate. But early on into this season, and especially in the last 10 or so games, Ja Morant is taking his game to the next level, which is kind of crazy to say, considering he was playing at an all-star type level. Just looking at some of the numbers that Ja has been putting up recently, he's been putting up 33, 41, 30, 36, 26, 22, 29 points in recent games, which is absolutely nuts. He's been on an absolute tear as of late. But the thing with Ja is not only is he putting up fantastic numbers, but he's also playing winning basketball. And the Memphis Grizzlies are coming off a fantastic victory over the Golden State Warriors, and actually looking at their last 10 or so games, the Grizzlies are on a 10-game winning streak currently, and just playing fantastic basketball led by Ja. But even besides the fantastic numbers that Ja's putting up out there, you can clearly tell by just watching Ja each and every game that he's a special talent. You don't really need the numbers to tell you that. When watching Ja out there on the court, especially during this season, you can clearly tell that he's a pretty decent three-point shot in terms of his catch and shoot three-point shot, crossover, sidestep, step back. Also has a pretty nice pull-up three-point jump shot as well. Does very well in the pick and roll or pick and pop offense. Has a very nice mid-range shooting ability where he can pull up from that mid-range area, crossovers, step back, sidestep, catch and shoot. Basically everything he can do from that three-point range, he can do from that mid-range, but even better from that area. But probably the best part of his game in terms of his scoring ability is driving all the way to the basket, where Ja, obviously, I think we all know, is super athletic and can dunk over whatever players in the paint. But even besides that, he uses his fantastic athleticism to just finish around players with either hand, either his left or right hand. He does a fantastic job at hanging in the air just to outlast the defender and putting up very difficult layups. Also has a pretty nice floater within his game. Overall, in terms of Ja's scoring ability, he's a very complete scorer at this point, in my opinion. One flaw that you can certainly point out about Ja Morant's scoring ability is his three-point shooting ability, where in the past especially, he really did struggle with his three-point shooting efficiency specifically, but I think as the seasons progressed, he's certainly got a lot better from that three-point range, and especially this season, I think he's taken a little bit of a jump. So in my opinion, what I think is going to happen with him and his three-point shooting is he's going to continuously get better at it as the years progress. But what makes Ja so special is not only is he a fantastic scorer, but he's also a fantastic passer and playmaker, which is essential for the new age NBA at that point guard position. Ja does a fantastic job, as I mentioned before, at running the pick and pop or the pick and roll offense in terms of finding whatever player's rolling to the basket, popping to the three-point line, or also does a fantastic job at just running that pick and roll offense and finding a wide open guy in the corner for three, maybe cutting all the way to the basket for an easy dunk or layup. He just does a fantastic job at really surveying the defense and always finding the wide open guy. And basically all the other players on his team, their lives are so much easier for having Ja on their team rather than not, obviously. When we look back at Ja's draft class, when you talk about Zion Williamson with the number 1 overall pick, Ja of course with the 2nd overall pick, and RJ with the 3rd overall pick, I think out of these 3 guys, it's very hard to say that anybody's better than Ja. I think it's pretty clear, at least at this point, that Ja is the best player out of those 3 guys. For Zion, maybe originally a lot of people thought he was going to be the best player out of those 3 guys, and maybe he still could be. It is pretty early on, but at this point at least, you can't really say that because he hasn't been able to stay on the court. He's been injured way too much, so I feel like that kind of takes him out of the argument almost. And for RJ Barrett, certainly as of late, he's been playing very, very well, and we'll see what happens with him going forward. But the issue with him is he really hasn't been consistent throughout his whole career. He's certainly had certain stretches where he's playing very well, but overall, it's just been an up and down career so far. But with Ja, ever since he got drafted, he was playing fantastic basketball. He hasn't really been dealing with too many injuries thus far in his career, knock on wood, but he's just been very consistent. And the thing about this season, as I mentioned, he's really taking his game to to the next level. So it's very hard for me personally to say any of those other two guys in RJ or Zion are better than Ja. I think it's pretty clear that Ja's the best out of those guys. But after a fantastic season for not only Ja Morant but also for the Memphis Grizzlies, what are my personal expectations for both? So in the past, I certainly saw this Grizzlies team as a good enough team to make the playoffs, and they certainly have done that a few times in the past. But the issue was I never really saw this Grizzlies team as legit enough to actually make it past the first round. Maybe they could win a few games, make it interesting in the first round, but I never really saw them as a team that was really going to do anything once they made it to the playoffs. But the difference with the Grizzlies this year is I think they're proving the ability to play a lot better, obviously, and they're proving the ability to not only be a top 5 seed in the Western Conference, but also once they actually make it to the playoffs, they're showing the ability, at least early on into this season, that they'll be able to make it past the first round. Now, of course, that's remained to be seen. They haven't even done it yet, but the big key to me personally is going into the playoffs, I think the Grizzlies certainly need to finish the season strong, not only to gain their confidence, but also gain the confidence of their star player in Ja Morant. And going into the playoffs, Ja really needs to take over. He needs to be playing as well as he has been playing over this 10 or so game stretch once it comes to the playoffs. If Ja's able to put up game after game, 26 plus points in the playoffs, along with getting his teammates involved, just making his teammates' lives a lot easier by getting them wide open shots, I think the Grizzlies are a very dangerous team going forward because they also have proven the ability to play very good defense at times, especially on this 10-game streak. And if the Grizzlies do end the season strong going into the playoffs and they do make it past the first round, of course it does depend on who they play, but I certainly think they have the potential and capability to actually make it past the second round as well, depending on who they play obviously and how well Ja Morant is playing. Of course, Ja is the best player in this team, and it's really going to come down to him in terms of telling how far this Grizzlies team is going to go. If he plays well, they're going to go far. If he doesn't play well, they're not. It's as simple as that. Although on this Grizzlies team, a bunch of other guys have stepped up and certainly are helping Ja, at the end of the day, it always comes down to your star player. But we'll see what happens going forward, not only for Ja, but also for the Grizzlies. But so far early into this season, they're looking fantastic. And for me personally, I'm very excited to be watching the Grizzlies throughout the regular season and in the playoffs. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. How far do you think this Grizzlies team could get this season? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy it, check out one of these other 2 videos popping up now. And until the next time, peace out, guys.
Oh yeah, I work with the medics. I'm about to get you injected. I got a couple connections so I can get you prosthetic. Hope you can't go where I'm headed.